Well, this is different. Are you still gonna talk to me now that we're over here? Yes, I'm still gonna talk to you even though we're in a different spot. Right, I'm your inner monologue. Well, how are you gonna start this one out? I don't really know how to start this. Just talk about what's on your mind, dude. Did you know that the human body has about 206 bones, but when you're born, you're actually born with like 300 and they've used... I'm talking about video games. That's a good point. Actually, like, quite a lot happened this week. Like what? Well, first of all, normally I try to keep politics out of this one, but politics specifically in the United States directly affected not just the launch of a game, but the launch of an entire console. Oh yeah, and then what happened with Ubisoft? Yeah. On top of that, like Ubisoft is making some unprecedented decisions with their company that's going to directly change probably 3 of most people's favorite IPs. Dude, also the channel, duh. Oh yeah, I probably should explain that too. You see, YouTube has this crazy thing called the YouTube algorithm. And the way that it works is if this show is on a channel that has a bunch of other things, that it will basically suppress this show. And the basic feedback that we've got from this show is that everyone absolutely loves it, but it deserves to be its own thing. I thought about putting it on Ink TV, but this show deserves better than that. So I have partnered up with Slick. He is the editor that has edited this show since the very beginning. We have come together as one on this channel, and now I welcome you to the Weekly Reload. Slick, play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Weekly Reload. Not just the show, but also the channel. This is your weekly gaming news show where we go over everything so you are up to date on all of your favorite games. And also, because we got our own channel for this now, we can do things like shorts, other quick gaming news. We've got a lot planned here, and thanks to Slick's ultimate editing prowess, he can do things like this. We've got a lot planned here, and thanks to Slick's ultimate editing prowess, he can do things like this.
I don't think I'm supposed to be in this part, so just make sure you subscribe to the channel and we'll get back to the rest of the video now.
Now, diving into the news, we have a massive news week. First off, let's start out with Warner Brothers. So first off, they have canceled the expansion to their biggest game, Hogwarts Legacy. We know it as Warner Bros. Biggest game, but they have canceled their story expansion to this because they say it wasn't big enough to justify the price. Why not just lower the price? I have no idea. But what this means is it also cancels them releasing a definitive edition. Now, I'm guessing this means we'll probably get whatever Hogwarts next game is a little bit faster, but super weird to see an IP that did so well cancel probably Warner Bros. Next big thing. Speaking of next big things, this week we got season 3 of Black Ops 6 and Warzone. So Black Ops 6, the launch went pretty well. It went live a day earlier than Verdansk and Warzone, and with it there was a couple problems, like the Battle.net launcher was not working right away. On top of that, the Kilo 141 took about an hour after launch went live for it to go live for people, but really nothing crazy, huge, or big. And then the next day, Verdansk actually went live 15 minutes early, and I must say, I am impressed with the small amount of bugs to actually come out of this. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but I will say this. It is probably the best launch update we have seen potentially ever, and they now have a base to build upon. Are they going to capitalize? I don't know. Speaking of capitalizing, one of the biggest things to come out of this week was the Nintendo Direct. All right, we're gonna get through this as quickly as possible, showing off all of the best games from the Nintendo Direct, as well as going into the drama behind this one. So starting off with some of the games that stood out to me, they started out with Mario Kart 9. This one looks super interesting because it's introducing some new game modes, including free roam, which is very, very interesting. On top of that, a very new and different Zelda game called Hyrule Warriors. And essentially this one is a Zelda game, but not a Zelda game at the same time. It's made by a different studio. But yeah, speaking of studios though, everyone's current favorite studio seems to be FromSoft, the people who created Dark Souls, the people who created Elden Ring. Well, yeah, they are making a game just for Nintendo Switch 2 called Duskbloods. We don't really know what this game is going to be like as of yet, but it's a From Software game, which means it's going to be good. Now, speaking of things that were good, back in my childhood, one of my favorite games was Donkey Kong 64. It was a 3D platformer, Donkey Kong styled instead of Mario styled, and well, we're getting another one of those too. It's called Donkey Kong Bonanza, and this one quite literally looks like you can destroy everything in the entire world. I don't know, it's gonna be interesting. Is it gonna be Donkey Kong 64? Probably not, but I'm interested in it. The other thing that they announced is that they are doing Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games that are already out. And certain things are going to include components that the Switch 2 has, like the mouse compatibility that we'll talk about in a minute. But other ones are just graphical improvements. And speaking of which, the Nintendo Switch 2 on the screen itself only goes up to 1080p, but when you plug it into a TV, can upscale all the way up to 4K, which I think some people were a little bit disappointed about because it's already a 1080p on the Switch 1. A little bit of a strange decision there, but the performance should be a little bit better at 120 frames. Now, another game is Kirby Air Raiders. If you've loved Kirby, this one just looks like more Kirby. And then they announced like a bunch of other games that are already out that will be coming to the Switch 2. These include games along the lines of Borderlands 4, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, and things like NBA 2K and other sports games. Now, the other thing that they announced was new features. So people were all wondering about the C button on the controller. As it turns out, that C button stands for chat. Essentially, they've integrated a new chat system into Nintendo Switch 2. So whether you just want to talk to your friends while you play the same game or different games or anything like that, you can also buy a camera that hooks up to the Switch 2 where people can see you and you can talk to them directly through the controller. It's an interesting idea, but things already exist like Discord, which I think a lot of people would have preferred if they integrated that as opposed to their own system. But yeah, that's kind of where that came. The other thing that we learned is that the controller also functions as a mouse, which will interact with different games in different ways. This was like kind of like the worst kept secret. Everyone knew this was going on, but yeah, it was confirmed. Now, drama. Let's dive into this. The release date is June 5th. Which is super amazing, way earlier than I think a lot of people thought. And the price of the console is $450 US, or if you get it with Mario Kart 9, about $500 US. Great, right? Well, they also announced that they are raising the price of their games. It's going to be $80 for a digital copy of Nintendo Switch 2 games and $90 for a physical copy. Now, people were outraged by this one and very, very upset with it. And then when they actually did another stream showing off more from Mario Kart 9, the only thing people were saying in the comments was lower the price. That's going to come back in a second, because the other thing that got announced is the battery life of this console. So battery life comes in between 2.5 and 6 hours long, which isn't very good. In fact, it's lower than the current Nintendo Switch, which a lot of people were really disappointed about. If you're using this thing on flights, on road trips, it's not a lot of battery life. And finally, the delay. No, you did not hear me wrong. The Nintendo Switch 2 was supposed to go live for pre-orders on April the 9th. And it is everywhere in the world except America. You see, this week, Donald Trump announced that he is basically putting tariffs on the entire world. And Nintendo's response was, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to delay the pre-order of the Nintendo Switch 2 only in America, because we don't know how much we need to charge for this thing now. So the price of it may change, and the date that you can pre-order it has 100% changed, with no announcement as to when that is going to be yet or what the price is going to be. but it's still the same for the rest of the world. So if you live anywhere but America, you can pre-order this thing on April 9th. So moving off of Nintendo Switch and over to Ubisoft, the other controversial thing going on is they sold themselves, basically. So they took Far Cry, Rainbow Six, as well as Assassin's Creed, all of their biggest franchises, and basically moved them to another company that is not Ubisoft. Why? Because Tencent Games wanted to buy those IPs, but not take the risk on the rest of the Ubisoft company, which is quite large. And essentially, they invested $1.2 billion just into those games. What does this mean for Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Rainbow Six? We don't know, but a lot is going to change, and I'm sure everyone currently working at Ubisoft is terrified for their jobs. Now, people who are not terrified for their jobs are the people working at Rockstar. Now, this week, there was an interview with Strauss Zelnick by Bloomberg where they announced this.
One of the biggest questions right now in all gaming, in entertainment generally, is when does Grand Theft Auto 6 come out? Which seems to be a very carefully held secret. Why is it so carefully held as a secret?
The anticipation for that title may be the greatest anticipation I've ever seen for an entertainment property. And I've been around the block a few times, and I've been in every entertainment business there is. And we want to maintain the anticipation and the excitement. And we do have competitors who will describe their release schedule for years in advance. And we found that the better thing to do is to provide marketing materials relatively close to the release window in order to create that excitement on the one hand and balance the excitement with unmet anticipation. We don't always get it exactly right, but that's what we're trying to do.
So basically, the entirety of the GTA 6 community has gone insane trying to figure out when the launch of Trailer 2 is going to happen, when we're going to get more information on the game. And Strauss Zelnick, the head of Take-Two, basically just said, it'll come closer to launch. And when people are speculating whether or not the game is going to get delayed, which, by the way, I still don't think it is going to, people are up in arms trying to figure out when the heck we're going to get this thing, but it seems like it's not going to be anytime soon. Speaking of developers not knowing what to do, let's talk about Helldivers real quick. So this week they put out an announcement saying that when Helldivers 2 launched, they took 6 million players from Call of Duty and didn't know what to do with their game because Call of Duty players want a very specific thing. This is one of the strangest things I've seen a developer say, because if you pulled 6 million people off of another game, wouldn't they just want to play more of your game and not try to make your game more like Call of Duty? Am I totally disconnected on this one? Or like, I don't know. So before we dive into what came out this week, I want you to check this out.
In his research, Dr. Morrison identified a paradox. A moment where machine learning would evolve past our capabilities of control. He called the first sign of this Alpha.
This is a game called MindsEye, and basically it takes place in a place called Red Rock, a superheated near-future metropolis where technology is king. I'm thinking third-person Cyberpunk 2077. This one is developed by a company by the name of Build a Rocket Boy, but it's being released by IO Interactive, and that is the company that did Hitman. It is the company that is working on the next 007 game. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm not sure at this point whether it's going to be good, great, or horrible. The cutscenes do look really good, and maybe will tickle the fancy for some open world game players. But yeah, this one comes out on June 10th, 2025, and this is the story trailer that you're seeing here. Now, what came out this week? Number one, we've got the Minecraft movie. As far as this one goes, it has like a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes, and honestly, it's kind of oddly what I expected. But one other thing, the other game that came out this week is a game by the South of Midnight. Now, this one is going to be free on Game Pass on the 8th, but went into early release on April 3rd. Right now, the reviews are sitting at about a 78 on OpenCritic. It's going to be one that I am testing out over the weekend, and will hopefully be getting a review out over on Ink TV at some point very, very soon. But you thought this was going away? No. You thought the tinfoil hat moment of the week was going away? Absolutely not. It is here to stay, and this time it's got its whole own channel. Let's actually look at this for a second. Go to OpenCritic and look at like the past 10 games that have launched. Every single game is between like a 78 and like an 82. Every single game that has come out, whether we're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was incredibly controversial, Atomfall, now South of Midnight. It is weird how close every single game is to an 80 on OpenCritic. And like come on, so like these games are not equal. Like Atomfall, South of Midnight, like all of these games are very, very different. There's no way the ratings should be that similar. And it goes further than this. Tiger Woods PGA 2K25, that one, 80. We've got the wrestling game, 2K25 for wrestling, 80. Why is every game 80? I feel like I'm absolutely going insane. And guess what? Doom Dark Ages right around the corner. I bet you it gets 80. Is GTA 6 gonna get an 80 when it comes out? What is with all of these freaking 80s? So what can we expect moving forward? More 80s scores, more amazing video game releases, and seemingly one other thing that eluded us this week is it looks like we might actually be getting a little bit more from Marathon, that Bungie's next game. They did Halo, they did Destiny, and now it looks like we might be getting some new Marathon news very, very soon. But this has been everything for the first ever episode of the Weekly Reload on the channel. If you guys enjoyed it, it's much appreciated if you hit that like button and of course subscribe, because we got another episode coming every single Sunday.